Hey, good afternoon or good morning to some of you. Thanks again for being here. My name is Ron Runyan. I get the privilege of serving you as the Department Adjutant. And thanks on behalf of your membership and your willingness to participate in the American Legion program. And remember, there's a couple quick side notes. The American Legion staff here in Lansing and all of our service officers are here to serve you. If you ever have any questions, please feel free to contact us and we can try to get you some help. As we go through this training today, it's going to answer some of your questions, and it's also going to probably bring up some new questions that you've not thought about in the past. If you need some assistance with that, please feel free to give us a call, and that's what we're here for, is to help you keep your post viable. A couple other side notes. Mark did mention earlier a little bit about My Legion. The My Legion website, that over 70% of all posts in the American Legion out of 55 departments are now processing membership using My Legion online. The My Legion site is going through a transformation at a national level, and it's going to be using what's called a single sign-on process. If you have not signed up for the single sign-on process, go to www.legion.org. Up in the top right-hand corner, there'll be a way for you to log in and actually sign up and get your credentials to get logged in. With the new My Legion site, you're no longer going to use an acronym for your post adjutant to log into that site. It's going to be your personal email, and it's going to be your personal password that you've set up for yourself. If you need any assistance with that, we do have a video and documents on our website to help you with that. And if you still need further assistance, please feel free to give us a call. Also, as another mention, our state convention is being planned to be held, as Mark mentioned, July 9th to the 11th in Sault Ste. Marie. Please feel free if you want to join, and we encourage everybody to come join us. It will be at the Quaden Casino and Hotel. If you need rooms, there is a cheap room rate. You need to contact the hotel directly. That information is on our website. It'll also be in our newspaper, and also make sure to get those registrations turned in. It does cost $15 to get registered for yourself or any guest to attend. And this way you'll get a name badge, and I'll give you authorization to be in those meetings. So here we go. I have about 3 pages of information for the post adjutants, and I know it's going to be a lot. This document will also be on our website so that you can go back and review it as I go through it, so that it'll help you in the future. The way I'm going to be doing mine is in little subsections, and at the end of every subsection, I'll open it up for questions. The first thing I want to talk about is post documentation. The first and foremost thing of a post adjutant and any officer and members of your post is, like we talked a little bit about, is your constitution and bylaws. As an adjutant, you need to know where they are located. Are they in file cabinets? Are they in a briefcase? Are they in a desk drawer? Did you hear that a member at some point in history had a copy and it's sitting at their house? You need to find out where those constitution bylaws are kept at. Every member of your post should be able to have a copy for themselves. Now, that copy can be made by the post and then distributed at either post meetings, or if one contacts you, you can put it in the mail to them. Or if you have a post website, it can be put out on your website. It's not a confidential document. All your members should know the rules and regulations in which your post is governed by. It's also a good idea that you know the contents of those constitution and bylaws, because there may be many times as a post meeting is going along, you need to make sure that other post officers and members are being compliant with the information that's in your post constitution and bylaws. The second item for important documentation is tax records. Yes, the American Legion, even though we're a nonprofit corporation, does have to file an annual tax return. Now, there are certain levels of tax returns that need to be turned in, and I know our next training session will be covering finances, and taxes. So I'll let that training take place. But the most important thing as a post adjutant, you should know where your tax filings are at. They should be filed and locked away so that you have access to them if there's any information that's needed in your future. Also, you need to know what the post EIN status is. Each post is applied for at some point an EIN, which is an employee identification number. That tells the IRS that you're a viable either nonprofit or entity, and a tax status or filing needs to be done on an annual basis. If a post were to stop filing those, your EIN or your tax status can be revoked. And we highly encourage that this does not happen. Again, more information will be coming up about that. But again, more importantly, you need to know where that information is kept. Minutes. As you know, one of the most important jobs that you have as a post adjutant is keeping minutes, legible minutes, that everybody can understand. They don't need to be verbatim minutes, please. You don't need to write down word for word of everything said at a post meeting. You need to have the content of the discussion. You need to have the who motions on a subject, who seconds the motion, and the outcome of that motion that was held. So that way it's a permanent record if you ever need to go back in history to find out how something was done. Second thing about minutes is I get the question, how long should we keep our minutes? Minutes should be kept indefinitely. They are a historical part of your post. Here at department headquarters, right over here to my right, we have a library. We have minutes from our very, very first meeting of the Department of Michigan back in 1919 to make us a viable entity in 1920. Those are verbatim minutes. So it's quite nice to go back in history and see what was done. But it also, in a better aspect, shows how programs were started, how they were voted on, and knowing who and how things were voted on at that time. Membership applications, very, very important document that we talked about a little bit earlier. Mark talked about how the post should not keep DD-214s because of certain information that's contained on them, personal information about each member. However, we highly encourage you to keep every membership application. They do not get sent in here to the state headquarters, and they don't get sent to national. Each post should be keeping their own membership application. Those are very vital, not only to see how they were brought into your post at some point, but some posts have lounges or post bars. There could be a time that Michigan Liquor Control could come in to verify who your members are. And if you have those applications, you can show those individuals, the IRS, who your members are, and the application that they filled out showing, and they attested that they are a member of the American Legion by their honorable service. Again, keep that information. I suggest that you keep it in a locked drawer or a locked file cabinet so that that information can't be shared with others that shouldn't see personal data about members, and it won't be lost in the future. That goes to my next topic, is about personal membership information and the storage of it. Again, some posts out there will elect to keep post DD2 or members DD-214s. Again, we make recommendations. Ultimately, it's your post responsibility, the decision that you want to make. If you are keeping that information, again, we highly encourage that that information is in a locked drawer or filing cabinet or in an office where maybe the adjutant has access and maybe one other person. That information should not be shared with members at large or anybody that can just randomly walk into an office or into a back room and get that information. It's our job as the American Legion and Post to protect our members and protect our members' personal information. Something that comes up regularly as far as post documentation that you should be aware of. There, out of our 282 posts in our state, there's probably about 60% of them that actually have a post home. And some of those post homes also have land. Now, it's pretty important if your post owns property and owns a building that you have the documentation to go along with that. It should be in a file cabinet or in a safe or be easily accessible, or you should also have knowledge of where that information is so that you know how maybe you come to get that land at some point, or if some land was sold off at some point. So again, keeping your land and property records accessible is and have knowledge of where that's at is a good idea. Later on in the presentation, there is a document that will be shared out on the website that are different websites that I would suggest that you have easily accessible by yourself. One of those is a company that's called Land Glide. It's a personal preference that I use whenever there's questions about posts and properties. But you can pay per use. It's very inexpensive, but it will actually give you GPS coordinates of any property, and it will actually give you the details of ownership of that property. So if you've ever wanted to know that information about your post and you've never known, by all means, you can go to that website and get that. There are other websites out there. I don't work for Land Glide or any of these other companies but the American Legion. So anything that we share is just helpful tips and hints for you. Banking information. Banking information from a post you should know. Again, your finance officer will most likely know this information as well, but as your post adjutant, you should also have knowledge of what banks that you bank at or financial institutions, have access to records of where that information is and how it was set up. To go along with that, one of the documents that must be filed every year is through the licensing and regulatory affairs. We a lot of times will refer to it as LARA. It's a state of Michigan department. And what the LARA nonprofit corporation paperwork does, it lets the state of Michigan know that you have a nonprofit organization within the state of Michigan. The document comes out every year and it's due October 1st of every year. Many of you may have already seen one of these. And what that does is it allows the post to select who your registered agent is, which essentially could be your post adjutant, your commander, or your finance officer. It's a person within the post that is responsible for filing that and an address for who that person is and where they can be mailed the document to. Other people that will be listed on there is, again, they don't use our terminology, but they list it as a president, which we call a commander. They list it as a treasurer, which we call a finance officer, and they have a secretary, which we know as an adjutant. They also have other board members that can be listed as well. Now, if those officers don't change from year to year, there is a checkbox that you can just check and just tell it that no officer changed for this last year. Put a $20 check with it and mail it in to LARA. It can also be done online. Lastly, under post documentation that you should be aware of, again, going back to posts that have property and buildings, and even the ones that don't, are post insurance. Some of the most important insurance that you could have is property insurance. Do you know where your property insurance policies are located if you were ever have a problem? Are they kept up to date? Has it lapsed? Liability insurance. Liability would also protect you from any accidents that happen on the property. One of the most important things that I always recommend is what's called D&O. Maybe you heard the acronym, you didn't know what it meant. D&O stands for Directors and Officers Insurance. If any one of your officers that are elected at a post were to say something and somebody were to take offense or the post finds themselves in any kind of legal litigation, the post officer should be protected by an insurance policy so that the post or those officers personally don't have to pay for legal fees to protect themselves or the post. Again, you can reach out to a local insurance agent. Many of you probably have one already, but ask if you don't already have a directors and officers policy, how much it might run you per year. Again, it's a good suggestion. Again, just knowing where those documents are located is probably the most important thing, because many posts may not know where they are located. And last policy that I would also recommend is having some kind of crime and fiduciary policy that protects all your post money. Now, the department, under our next section, I'll talk about a form that each post fills out on an annual basis, which we have an insurance policy for every post that protects your membership money. Now, many of you posts out there have those bars and they have their lounges and they have other ways that they're raising income within the state. Now, if an officer or a member or an employee or somebody takes off with that money, you're going to want to be able to protect that and get it back in some way. So having some kind of a crime fiduciary policy to protect those monies could be very important, especially if your post makes a lot of money. Because I know there are many post lounges and facilities that bring in quite a bit of money every year. Now, if you're a smaller post, you have 20 people and you don't have a lounge and you meet at maybe a local library or another community center, chances are you may or may not want that. You definitely probably aren't going to need property and liability insurance because where you're meeting already probably carries those types of insurances. But again, as a good suggestion, those would be the types of insurances that I would recommend. At this time, I'll open it up for any questions on any of the post documentation that I've gone over. No one? All right. Excellent. The next section that we're going to be covering is post forms and other documents. Now, I've listed 7 of the most important documents that every post should know about and file annually.
They're on the website.
These documents are on our website under the training area that we have set up for you today. And many of them are also on the MichiganLegion.org site under the header called forms and under the Post Adjutant and other post forms. They're located there as well. I do have a question from Victor. Does anyone have a copy of crime fiduciary policy? Can you unmute? We're going to unmute you, Victor, so I understand your question.
Where,
Victor, show that. Let's see. There you are. All right, Victor. Go ahead.
We had an incident at our post where money was stolen, and we don't have a crime fiduciary policy. That's something new you just enlightened me on. Does anybody have a copy of a policy?
Oh, as far as any other post out there that they could share to give you some information?
Yes.
I guess that question could be, somebody in the chat could probably reply back to you directly, Victor, or they can share that information. We don't have one from a post that we could share with you.
Wouldn't they talk to their insurance company?
But the best thing that you could do on that, Victor, is talk to whoever, if you have other insurance policies currently, talk to your agent, and they can, because what they're going to need to do is get an idea of how much money or assets that you're looking to protect within that crime and fiduciary policy. And then the cost for that policy is going to be determined upon what you're trying to cover. Again, a smaller post is going to have a very small fee for this type of protection. And if you have a larger post, of course, it's going to be a little more. But in the long run, many of these policies are set up with $1 million or a $2 million limit. And if somebody were to, abscond with, $150,000, $200,000, paying a small, $300, $400, $500 annual premium would definitely benefit the post in the long run. Again, that has to be a determination of each individual post. So see your local insurance representative. I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, going on to the next section is forms and letters and documents. There are 7 most important documents that are on the post that need to be done annually. Now, many of you current adjutants or members of the post know that if you don't turn in these forms, the post will not receive their membership cards for the current year. Now, these forms are currently being worked on, and they have been mailed. They may have been mailed out as early as yesterday, or they will be going in the mail tomorrow. The first one is the National Officers Form. This is a report to the national organization on your post officers. It will also give My Legion access to the officers that are required to have it, like your commander, your adjutant, or others that are dictated by your post. This is how national actually will verify that that person's the commander and the next person is the adjutant. And it also is a way that the national organization will verify the commander and adjutant if a post ever asked for weapons from the United States Army or more ammunition for those weapons. When you fill out the request for those documents, they get sent in to me. I verify it, and national will also verify that information of who their current officers are. Because as you know, or you may not know, the commander and the adjutant are the only 2 individuals that they will mail or ship weapons and ammunition to. And it will go to your home personal address. So that information needs to be updated. And if any of that information has ever changed, make sure that you please reach out to us and update it. The next form is called the National Annual Post Data Form. This form also comes out around the same time, which will usually be around the first part of April. And it will give the information about where your post location is, your post mailing address, the dues fee, and officers of the post. Again, that's filled out annually. And the reason why that one is so important is the dues fee and where the address of the post mailing address is. Because some posts elect to have their post addresses printed on the membership cards. That would be it. That's where that address comes from. And also when your members get their renewal letters from National, the fee that's printed on that renewal letter is from that document that you're filling out. Now, if you as a post negate to fill out that form and you do not send it in, National is just going to keep the information from the prior year or the last recorded information, and that's what's going to be printed on the next renewal letters to your members. So it's a very important that the post is going to raise their dues, that this form gets filled out, and the same form, if the post were to change their dues in the middle of the year for some reason, this would also give the information to the department and to the national organization so that the next set of cards or the next renewal letters that go out further in the year will have that updated information on them. The next national document that's very important is called the National Consolidated Post Report. Many times in post meetings, maybe district meetings, you'll hear to it be called a CPR. And the CPR is a very important document, not only to reporting to the state what your post is doing, it's reporting to national what your post is doing, but it's actually giving an overview what your post did for this last year to the United States Congress and to our senators. All that information is sent in here, forwarded into the national organization. It's compiled into one big spreadsheet. And this will give the information to our leadership in Washington to know how vital the American Legion is in each of our communities and state. This is the reason why the American Legion is such a big organization as far as veterans, because our leadership in Washington knows what we're doing on an annual basis and how important we're giving back to our community. Those CPRs will also be part of the packet that's going out. The CPRs can also be filled out online right through My Legion when you get logged in. What's nice about the online version of the CPR is you can fill it out, you can say what you've done and come back to it at another time. And then once you have it completely filled out, it can be submitted, and then national and the state get a copy of that. On a state level, some of the most important forms, there's the 3 main forms that you'll be getting very soon from us, like I mentioned. There's the state officers list. This will actually show the commander, the adjutant, the finance officer, and service officer who is just elected this year for 21 to 22. Again, your post-election should be starting here within the next month and going through for the next few months. As soon as your officers are elected, please fill out the form. You can either mail it into us or you can scan it and email it into us. It's also, as we mentioned, online. So it's a fillable PDF and it can be filled out and sent in. And one of the new things that we're going to be starting this year is we're trying to go paperless. And we're trying to get that train down the road. But sometimes the big aircraft carrier is hard to stop. So be on the lookout within the My Legion, or excuse me, the MichiganLegion.org site under the form section. And there will be a link and it will go to essentially like a Google document, and you'll be able to just fill it out online and submit it, and it will automatically upload right into our database. And there's no form that you have to fill out, and we'll automatically fill it out for you.
And you can pay your $10 bond.
Right, exactly. So that goes with not only your officers list. The second form is your audit form. Your state audit form is also filled out. It can be done on paper. And what that does is it's certifying that your post has verified your finances for the last year. Essentially, you're going to have a committee made up of a few of your members. We recommend at least 3 or 4, maybe 5, verifying that information. You're going to fill out the form attesting that your post has done the audit and verified all the transactions as far as income and expenses and where your balances are at. And you're going to submit it to us and you're going to sign it, letting us know that that has been done. And that's required by our national bylaws. Lastly, we have the state fiduciary crime and insurance policy. And what that is, it's department buying one large policy that covers all the American Legion posts just in Michigan and SAL squadrons, protecting that membership money. And for the low cost of $10, you can participate in that program. I would highly encourage you to do that because that will protect your money at your post for the members' dues that are paid to you. Again, that form not only has a paper form to it, but this year it's also going to be an online form, and it's going to have essentially like a PayPal button that you'll be able to actually click, pay right through that, and it submits electronically right to us. One of the questions I get a lot of times from either post adjutants or finance officers is we don't have a meeting for 2 more months down the road, and I can't get a check to send in my fiduciary policy to you. Can I write a personal check? For sure. As long as we get $10 with that application, it's paid. If you're doing it out of your own pocket, just document it so that at your next post meeting, you ask to be reimbursed for it. That's all. That way you're covering the post, and everybody at the post is going to be happy that they're covered.
You want to answer Wayne's question?
Yes. Who's it?
Wayne Blank.
Wayne, go ahead. You have your hand raised. Ask your question.
Yes, I've got a question about the fiduciary liability insurance in our bonding. that we pay for, how much does this bond cover for people that are handling money through national?
How much?
I mean, how much money at the post level does that cover if somebody is stealing it?
It will cover the policy that the department purchases on behalf of the post and the SAL squadrons is up to $150,000. Now,
Okay, so
there would have to be a very, very large post in the Department of Michigan that didn't turn in membership money for a very long time to have $150,000 loss for membership. Because as you know, membership should be processed on a weekly and no longer than 30 days from when the post receives it.
okay, one more question. That bond covers just membership?
Yes, membership money.
Not post general funds.
Now, if somebody comes in and robs your post lounge and they make off with $20,000 out of the till from selling liquor, that post fiduciary policy is not covering that money. That's where you would need to have a separate policy covering that.
Okay, I just wanted that clarified.
Yep, very good. Thanks, Wayne. Great question. One of the things that I want to talk about so that you have a good understanding is if you have a suspected case where you think there could be fraud or somebody maybe stole money from your post, by all means, again, have a directors and officers policy in place just in case, but don't ever accuse somebody of doing these things. You are not the police. As a post, you should have a meeting, you should have an audit, verify what you think that's happened, and if you still think that there's a problem where someone may have done that, go to your local police station and report it. Take your information with them. They're going to want copies. They're going to want contact information for not only yourselves as officers of the post, but they're going to want contact information of any suspected people that you think may have some involvement. Let them conduct the police investigation. And if something has been done improperly, let them adjudicate it and then let them take care of anything that needs to be done to that person. There's many times that I'll have a post that suspects something of happening and they want to jump right to the, we think this person did it, we need to kick them out. Well, again, protect yourselves, because if that person has not gone through a court of law and you implicate that person for doing something improperly and you defame their character or you say false statements, they can sue you. So protect yourselves. Do not find yourself in that predicament. If the police or law enforcement finds out that something has been done and they've gone through that process, once that person's been adjudicated and found guilty, then the post, which is a judge of your own members, then you can elect what you want to do with that member out of your post. And then you can file the paperwork with the state or department headquarters to get that money back if it's covered underneath your post-crime fiduciary policy with us. Until the case has fully gone through the court system and found guilty, those two things cannot be done, because we cannot say that somebody's done anything wrong until they've been found guilty in a court of law. Don't find yourself in a predicament that you're accusing people wrongfully and find yourselves in a predicament. The last thing that I want to cover on here, under the 7 documents, the main documents, is the post and state post delegates to the state convention. Very important paperwork that's going to be coming to you very soon. Let's see here. You're going to be getting, what's this one here? Share this. Give me one moment. I want to share this document since it's such an important document, and we have a lot of our posts. I don't want this to pop up. Yes, it is. Questions? Maximize this. There we go. Screen share. Got it.
Got it. Good.
Got it. As you see on your screen, you're going to be receiving a letter from Deanna. Deanna spends a lot of time going through the list of post delegates for the next state convention. How that's done, let me explain that first. And you're going to see this document also on our main website. 30 days prior to the start of last year's convention, we put together a list of your post strength. Based on that post strength is how your delegates for each post are determined. Each post will get one delegate for the commander as long as you have 15 members. Then every 50 members or a major fraction thereof will receive another delegate. So we will have a list of all those delegates by post on our website. So if you're interested on the post down the street, how many delegates should they have? If you're a district officer, you're going to be doing district elections. This will tell you how many delegates other posts will have. But this is where the letter comes from Deanna. And on this report, let me make it a little bigger and see if you can see it a little better. At the top is probably the most important part. It will actually show your post number, the district that you're in. And most importantly, right here, it's going to show you the amount of delegates that you have to attend or be, that you can elect to be delegates to the state convention. And I know a lot of districts will use this number as well. Even if your post does not have a single person that plans on going to the state convention, this form needs to be filled out. Write down the membership ID number and the delegate's name. It doesn't cost you anything. Fill it out and send it in, either by mail or fax or email it to us. This will give your district the ability to cast your post votes. If your post does not turn this in, your district is going to lose the ability to have the most amount of people voting for something at a state level. Now, this has affected a lot of our conventions in the past where, using an example of, let's say, the 7th district, they could have had 170 potential votes, but only half of the posts in that district sent in this form. They maybe only got to cast 120 votes because they lost out because the post didn't fill out this form. All you have to do is fill it out, turn it in. The post will get the credit, or the district will get the credit to actually cast ballots for your post. So that's the main point that I need to get across to you. It's free. Just fill it out and get it turned in.
So Sarah has a question about
Sarah, go ahead. You got a question. Go ahead. There you go.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Okay, my question about this is when it says who can attend the annual convention, it says Legionnaires speak to your post about being a delegate and let your district commander know. So is there going to be a separate way for me to officially ask my district commander to assign me to a committee if I wanted to be a delegate?
That would actually come from you directly, Sarah. If you have an interest in representing your district at the state convention in one of the convention committee meetings, the district commander will typically fill out your name on a report and let us know that they've assigned that duty and responsibility to you. That's for just attending and representing your district.
Okay, so I don't have to do, because I don't even know anybody from my district. So.
No, if you just want to go to the state convention and you want to be represented as a delegate, which means it gives you the ability to actually vote on any issue.
Yes.
You need to have your name on this form.
Okay, so I really only need to have my post do this part for me.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So in this case, the form that we're looking at, post 351 will have 6 delegates at the convention. Now, again, they may not have a single person that wants to go, but they still should put 6 people's names as delegates. If there's more than 6, you can also choose 6 alternates, just in case one of those delegates that was going to go couldn't go because of a medical emergency or family issue, or they just decided I'd rather be fishing today. That an alternate can step right up into that spot.
Okay. Would it be smart to reach out to my district in case they need somebody for a specific committee?
Yes, by all means, great idea. That's exactly what you should be doing, Sarah. And I encourage everybody, if you have any interest in going to the state convention, find out where your district meetings are. Again, those are listed on our website and they're also published in our newspaper. But if you need to know who your district commander is, send me or Mark an email after today's training or give us a call and we'll let you know who that is. That way we can express your interest to them for sure.
Okay, thank you. Because yes, I was looking and I don't see any contact information. I just see like the map, but right. I will do that. I'll reach out later. Thank you for answering my question.
Oh, you're welcome. And the reason why, to answer your question on that, Sarah, we don't put contact information for our members and our officers on our website any longer as a recommendation from our national organization, and also because many spammers and companies that make phone calls, unsolicited phone calls and mailings to officers and people come from when people can just go to any random website and get that information. If it's public, you've given them that information. We are trying to protect our members and our officers by not publishing that information. There, on that page, there's actually a request for information. Or if you had a question in your district, we'll actually get that email and we'll forward it right on to them.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay.
Talk about on the reverse side is for alternate list. There's a question about alternates, what that actually means on that thing.
Oh, is there a question about alternates?
Yeah, on the reverse side, you have an alternates list.
Okay. See, there's an over, and then on the back side, you have an alternates. Again, you can put as you have, in this case, this post had 6 members that could be delegates. We recommend that you put at least 6 alternates. You don't have to put any. If you don't have anybody to put on the form, don't put anybody on the form. Even the post that says, you know what, I'm not going to a state convention. The state can take care of itself. The district can vote how they want. By all means, please just fill out the report and sign it and send it back. That at least, if nothing else, will give them the permission to use your delegate strength. Right here at the very bottom of that back side, it talks about the section within the Department Constitution and Bylaws, how those are voted on. But you just need to certify it. Again, post commander can sign it or the post adjutant. Get it sent in to us. If nobody shows up, it doesn't matter. But put at least 6 people on there if you can. Again, if there's not a single person on it, that's not a problem. Still sign it, still send it in. Your district will be able to cast your votes. And one of the last things that we're going to cover under forms and letters and other documentation for post adjutants are letters and requests. There's many times that
you're still sharing your screen.
Oh, I'm still sharing my screen. I will stop sharing my screen. Thank you. One of the things that post adjutants will do regularly is if you need let's say a city dignitary, or you want to invite somebody special to attend one of your meetings, maybe you want to invite a state commander or somebody within the department or district to show up to one of your events. Typically, that's a letter that's written by your post adjutant. It can be signed either by your post adjutant or your commander. There's also a form on our website under michiganlegion.org if you want the state commander to actually come to attend one of your events. That's out there for you. This will give the information to the department of what your event is, when, where, how, why, all the questions. That way the commander would ascertain whether or not he has to spend a night, depending on their drive, and all that kind of information. But make sure that those forms, those letters, they're all filled out properly. Make sure that people understand who you are and what you're asking for. Also, one of the things, letters that are written specifically from post are if you're supporting any candidates out of your post to a district level or to a state level position. Your post can make motions and second those motions. And if it's supporting an officer or potential officer, a letter should be drafted and sent on to either the district or the state so that they know, and it needs to be signed by the post commander and the adjutant. And lastly, resolutions. There's many times that we'll have posts that will want to take on a special project, or they feel they want to endorse or support something legislatively. It's a good idea that you write a resolution out of your post, especially if it's something outside of your post. If you want it at a state or district, or maybe even a legislative issue. If you write a letter and supported by the post, maybe it's something big enough that you forward on that resolution on to the district. The district might actually write their own resolution then, or support yours out of a post. And if it's big enough, it might come up to a state level or even sometimes a national level. We have our own past department commander, Brett Holt, that wrote a resolution about hearing impairment at national conventions. At a national convention, you have thousands of people in this huge auditorium with one speaker, and it's hard to hear us in some cases, especially many of us veterans had hearing issues. So his resolution that was written many years ago was to put the closed captioning on the screens so that if you couldn't hear, you could actually read the screen. Done from a member in Saginaw, moved all the way up to the national organization. So things can get done by resolution. We encourage you to do that. And if you need help, many of your members in your district or here at the state level are willing to help you with that. Excuse me. So with that, that's going to close that section. We'll open it up for any questions.
Got none.
Okay. All right. The next section we're going to go into then is another form, and it's called the member data form. If you've been a post officer or post adjutant in the past, more than likely you've seen this document. And I just want to kind of go over it a little bit in detail so that everybody understands it, because sometimes it can be very confusing. Post data forms are used in many cases. If you have a member that's trying to transfer into your post, you would fill this form out. If you have a member that has deceased recently and you need to notify us, this form can be used. All these things can also be done on My Legion, but this is the paper form to do that. If you want to choose honorary life membership, if they've changed their address, if they've added email addresses, or any other pertinent information about them. The main thing that we see these member data forms primarily for are when members are transferring into another post. Now, in this case, the main things that need to be filled out on here, first of all, is the membership ID number. Secondly, what their name is. Up here at the top, you actually put the department that they are in. Department means state. So in here, you would put Department of Michigan or MI. And then the post number. This post number is the post in which they're transferring to. So whatever your post number is the post number that you're going to put here. And then, of course, at the top, you would date it. Now, if the member hasn't moved and hasn't changed any of their primary information, and they're just transferring from, let's use the case of Post 225, which is a administrative holding post here in Lansing, and they're transferring to your local post. You fill out the top. You don't need to fill out all that information in the middle because none of that has changed from that member. You come down here to the very bottom of it. You choose transferring from Michigan, Post 225 to Michigan, and whatever your post number is. And there's a section on here for gender and war areas and branches services. So if that information If you can capture it, we always ask that if nothing else, and they're just doing a transfer, their membership ID number, their name. I would also write down their email address and their phone number, because sometimes that has changed or they never shared that when they initially signed up. The more information that's captured and then put into the My Legion site can be very useful to a post when you're doing those mailings or phone calls that Mark talked about earlier in our presentation and training. Some of the other ways that the data form can be used when doing transfers is if you hold a post revitalization, you'll have possibly a district or a state committee that will come out and try to help gain more members for your post. You'll notice that the post adjutant must sign this form showing that you're electing and authorizing those members to be transferring into your post. And the most important thing of this form altogether is the post member must sign this form. Now, there's chances that you could have done a revitalization using an email process and you've asked that member to transfer into your post. In that case, you can print the email, or there could have been a letter that they've signed that can be attached to this member data form. And lastly, some post revitalizations can be done right over the phone. So if you know that there's members in your area that are using Post 225 close by and you want them to transfer into your post, because of COVID, you might not feel comfortable with going out and knocking on doors, or you might not feel comfortable talking to somebody in person. If you talk to that member in person on the phone and they've authorized you to transfer into that post as a post adjutant or person in the post doing a revitalization, fill out the form, and in the signature column here or in the block, just put on there that it was authorized via a phone call with their name and the date. And this still needs to be turned in because it is kept on file. That covers the member data form. Is there any questions on it? Alphonse, greetings from the UP.
Greetings from the UP. How are you doing today?
Excellent, sir.
I've got a question. The war era, I thought the Legion did away with the war era, just all veterans from all times.
They do. Right here, the very last block under war era, there's an option for other conflicts now.
Okay.
On the new member data form, there is a block on there for other conflicts.
Okay, because on the individual applications, it still says it doesn't have other conflicts on there.
We will get you some new applications then, Alphonse, because we have new applications from national and new member data forms. So if you're looking at an older member data form and other conflicts isn't listed, or the membership applications doesn't have other conflicts listed, we have new forms that we can get you, and they're also on our website as of right now.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thomas has got a question.
Thomas, you have a question, sir?
Unmute, Thomas. Thomas, unmute yourself for a question.
There we go.
There you are.
There we are. Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. My question is, those people we get from Post 225, we need to fill this form out for them, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Again, getting members transferring into your post, another big question that we will get from post adjutants is how do you actually verify eligibility? And we're going to be covering that here in our next section shortly. The next section is a very short section that I want to cover, and that's called emblem use. To use an emblem at a post level or by any member, depending on what it's being used for, should require authorization from not only the department, but from the national organization. and we need to know the manner in which that emblem is going to be used. Situations where the emblem doesn't need to be authorized is if you're creating a document with your post minutes and you're putting the emblem on with your post name and contact information at the top with the minutes or other correspondence from your post. If you're advertising a benefit dinner, you don't need authorization from that. You're just showing the people within your members or the members of the people in your community who's hosting that information. But the most important thing about the emblem that everybody should know, other than that, is you need to have authorization. If you're making coins, if you're making jackets, if you're getting baseball caps, if you're getting t-shirts, whatever you put that emblem on, you need to have authorization. Not that we think that you're selling it, but we need to make sure that you're using it properly. You got to remember that the emblem of the American Legion, the Sons of the American Legion Auxiliary, and the American Legion Riders are all trademarked emblems through the national organization, and you need to have permission to use them. Secondly, to use the emblem on anything, there's a policy that you must follow. That is, the emblem and nothing can actually touch the emblem. So on the screen that you see here, I'm not sharing it, but if you look at any Legion emblem, you'll notice that the emblem is not actually touching anything next to it. I don't see that on there, so I just won't share it. It's not that big a deal. So again, if you're gonna put the emblem on another document or on something, it should have a clear, concise, white border around it completely so that nothing's actually touching it or interfering with it. It should not be placed on top of anything else, and nothing should be placed on top of it.
Sarah has a question.
Sarah, go ahead with your question.
Okay, where do we go to get permission for use of the emblem?
On our state website, there's a form that you can fill out manually. Also on legion.org, if you go to legion.org and you type /emblem, there's actually an emblem request page that can be used. It was part of that document. But what it will do, it's an electronic version for you to request to use the emblem. What it does when you submit it, it actually is going to submit to myself here at Department Headquarters. I will then see why it's being used and what you're going to be using it for. I would then most likely authorize it, and that would actually go on to national, to their emblem sales division. They will verify it, and then they would authorize it. And once it's authorized, you will get an email and a letter from them knowing that you've been authorized to use that emblem. What's most important is if you're working with a third-party contractor or company making something for you, be it t-shirts, hats, jackets, coins, you want to have a dedication at a veterans memorial with a bench and you want to have the emblem on it, it's going to give not only you asking for permission, but it's going to, you want to make sure that that letter is given to the contractor who's going to be using it for you.
Okay, so this is leading to a couple more questions for me. One, can I do, can we like get the ball rolling after this meeting on an emergency one? Because I might need that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Again, okay. If you fill out the paper form, you get it on our website. My email address is A as in Apple, D as in David, J as in Jennifer, @michiganlegion.org. And I get those emails 24/7. And I get to them as quick as I can. And usually I turn those around as soon as I get them.
So do I need to be doing this like each and every time I use it separately? So like when I say I have maybe an emergency request here, well, not maybe, I do then, because I have sent in the no touch emblem for the baseball team that we're sponsoring. Oops.
I'm not using it for a baseball team.
Now, you shouldn't be using it for a baseball team. Are you making special jerseys for them or something?
you know, I'm not even sure how that works. It's for the baseball team, like our post is sponsoring a team. And so they're probably just going to put it on a banner or whatnot.
Okay.
I don't, but they might have it on the shirts and the hats.
Right.
So Sarah, if the baseball team is not participating in the American Legion baseball tournament or program,
okay,
then the Post cannot put the American Legion logo on the jersey.
Okay.
It has to be a sanctioned baseball program event through the department to use our emblem.
Okay. So, but if we're sponsoring, can we have like a banner, like a sponsorship banner or anything like that? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I will reach out then and make sure that that's not happening as far as on the uniforms.
On typical uniforms for American Legion baseball, they have a patch that each player and coach is required to wear on their sleeve. That's purchased through emblem sales for baseball.
Okay.
And if you have more questions on that, Sarah, regarding that, feel free.
I think I'll call you separately on that or Mark, and then get some more detailed questions. So I'm not eating up time here. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, any other questions on emblem? I know our National Judge Advocate, which is a American Legion member here in our great state of Michigan out of Marshall, Kevin Bartlett, he has a slogan that he uses and he promotes that you probably heard us say, but it's no touchy. Don't let anything touch the emblem or overlap on top of it. Just remember that. Okay, I don't see any questions on the emblem. Nope. So we're going to move on to membership and how membership works. This is probably the most time-involved job that the adjutant typically has at a post. Now, sometimes when I say that, in some cases, posts might have their membership being processed by a vice commander. Some of them might be having a membership committee. Some of them might have a finance person. But again, all these ideas and sections will be covering the overview of how to process and things about membership. Membership is the foundation of our organization. If anybody's been in the building trades and you've seen buildings being built, typically there's a cornerstone or a foundation in which that building is built. Now, if the foundation or the cornerstones of a building were to falter and crack and break, what happens to that building? Most cases, it's going to collapse. And that's why I know the American Legion, we beat everybody up. We talk about it in our newspaper and a lot of podcasts, our leadership. We all talk about how important membership is. And that's because we couldn't do anything within our great organization without it. We wouldn't have an organization. So we want to make sure that we promote it as much as possible and we get the most amount of members. So that way we can do more within our communities. Since membership is the most important program in our organization, I want to ask you, think about it. Who's in charge and responsible actually for membership in your post? Most cases, you're going to hear, oh, our adjutant's in charge of membership. Our senior vice is in charge of membership. The actual answer to that question is everybody. There you go, Brian. Everybody is responsible for membership. If you know that members of your post haven't renewed their dues, please feel free to reach out to them and ask them to renew and let them know why it's so important to renew. I encourage every post, if you need more members to be contacted, the letters aren't working and phone calls need to be made, don't put that responsibility on one person like the adjutant to make all those phone calls. That's too much work, especially for a large post like Grand Haven or South Haven or Wyandotte that they have over 1,000 people. It's not going to happen. It can't be done. And you're going to overwhelm one of our precious volunteers, and then they're going to get frustrated and just want to throw up their hands. So I encourage every post to have some type of a membership committee. Don't even need to call it a committee. Just have a monthly get-together where your post and your members can be contacted to encourage them to pay their dues and let them know why it's important to pay their dues. So, you know, as a post adjutant, our membership that is sent in here through the paperwork method, through the transmittal form and through the membership cards is processed every single day. So let's use a post, for instance, that sends in 10 cards at $39.50 per person. That $39.50 times 10 is $395. Good thing I have I was good at math. Thanks, Mount Clemens. Anyways, those memberships come in here. Now, SAL dues are $11 per person. Okay. Deanna, our membership coordinator, processes our mail every single day and uploads that into My Legion. So there's no membership that's ever being held. Conversely, at a post level, you as a post adjutant or whoever's processing your membership should also be processing at a minimum once a week. There should be no membership ever kept at a post level for more than 30 days. And it actually violates the bylaws if it is being done that way. Why is that important, you might ask? Well, remember, benefits that are given to your members at a post and through our department and around the nation are based upon their paid membership. Let's say, for instance, one of your members participates in a Legion Insurance Trust program or insurance, which is also known, you may have heard of the LIT. LIT provides different insurances for travel insurance and different liability, cancer plans, whatnot. But to actually participate in any one of those plans, you have to be a member in good standing. And why is it important that they're a member in good standing and you process their members? Let's say, for instance, that member that bought a plan from an outside contract company that has to be in good standing, their membership is being held at a post level for more than 30 days. Maybe they need extra money and they figure, I'm going to hold this membership and not send it in for 3 months or 6 months. We'll hold it. We can use it as we want. We'll send it in. Well, if they did that, that member's membership could have been expired and lapsed. And if that were to happen, and that member were to go to claim something on that policy and they verify that that member is no longer a member in good standing, there's a chance that the post could find itself in litigation because the member is going to want to get paid from that insurance policy that they paid for. And they know that they paid their dues to the post because they can show you the canceled check that they've gotten or the second copy of their check showing that it was sent into the post. So it's very important. That's just one case scenario, but it's very important that a post processes membership as frequently as possible. I have some posts out there that are larger that process through My Legion every single day. That way it doesn't get backed up. I know not all of us have that kind of time to do it on a daily basis, but I encourage you to do it as often as possible so that it gets turned in. Our membership year starts on July 1st, every single year, and it runs to June 30th. And the reason why we want to make sure that everybody is aware of that, because sometimes our members think that our membership year in the American Legion is by calendar year, which is January 1st to December. And they get confused that on July 1st, the new membership year, they're already getting renewal letters in sometimes June saying that they need to pay for their 2022 dues. Well, they might think, well, I just paid my 2021 dues. Well, since it's by a fiscal year, that's why it starts on July 1st. As long as those forms that we talked about earlier are sent in a timely manner, and we have all your post memberships cards here at department headquarters, typically by the first part of June. We get them on pallets. They're broken up, and then usually you'll see them when they're mailed out to the post in the large white Tyvek envelopes that contain your cards, any instructions, any manuals, the registry for those cards, those are sitting here waiting typically mid-June. As soon as your post sends in those forms, Deanna will take those cards upstairs and she'll get them mailed right out to you. Now, a lot of times I want to cover, we'll get a lot of questions from members that will call here. Oh, we have a question. We'll get back to that. We have members that will call here saying to any of our staff, I'm still getting renewal letters from National saying that I haven't paid my dues. And I know that I paid my dues. I paid my dues back in August or September of the last year for the current year. The reason why those members are getting those letters in most cases is because the post is holding on to their dues and they have not transmitted them to the state headquarters. Again, if we don't know that the dues have been turned in and National doesn't know that the dues have been turned in, those members still sit on an expired list and they'll get sent that renewal letter. Now, there are chances that the member did renew their dues, the post sent in their dues to the state headquarters and we've processed it, but the timing in which that was processed and the timing in which the letters went out at the National to go to those members kind of cross paths with each other because, again, the national organization has those letters printed out up to sometimes a month in advance before the deadline for them to be mailed. And there could be a little overlap. So just reassure your member that, yes, you've processed their dues. They've been sent to the state headquarters. You can verify it in My Legion because it will show you there that they renewed. And then all members can log into My Legion themselves and they can see that their dues were paid as well. And there was just the correspondence overlap and they shouldn't receive that any longer.
Mike has a question about processing. So would it be incorrect to vote on new potential members at monthly meetings? I'm hearing now that you recommend processing weekly.
Right. So yes, Mike, your membership is the ultimate authority if that potential member is going to be a member of your post. So that's talking about a brand new member. You would want to make sure that all your new members and your transfers are voted on by your membership because, again, the post is a judge of their own members. They should be able to supply documentation of their honorable service to the country. And then you can, sometimes those new members and transfers will actually attend maybe a post meeting if they're invited, which I encourage. That way you can ask them questions and see how they could be a good fit. But once they are voted on by your membership, as far as the new members and the transfers, then you would actually send that paperwork into the state headquarters at that time. The ones that you do on a weekly basis or regular basis are your renewals. So good question, Mike. Hopefully that answered your question. That's it. Okay. There's two different types of membership in the American Legion. That is, you can be an annual dues paying member and you can be a lifetime paying dues member. And what I say, an annual dues member could be somebody that gets their renewal letter on an annual basis. They send in their dues to the post transacts it back to us. That's an annual dues paying member. There's also a second type of annual dues type member, and that's called an honorary life membership. Now, each post can elect to designate members of your post to be an honorary life member. And what that means, let's use an example of, we have a past commander that's done a lot of great things, and to show the gratitude to that member, the post at a meeting elects to pay that member's dues until whatever time they designate or for life. Now that member is called an honorary life member. They still get paid annually. However, once you designate that member as an honorary life, the member no longer gets the renewal letter in the mail. On your membership roster, that the post gets with their cards on the far right-hand side, or if you're looking at My Legion, it will designate either an H on the green bar, or it will say paid honorary life. It's the post responsibility to pay those dues because you've elected to designate them as an honorary life member. Now, if you don't pay we recommend that annually after the start of the new membership year, that you pay those as early as possible. Now, going back to the days when I was a post adjutant, what I would do, and you can use this if you wish, I would make sure to contact all those honorary life members to ensure that they're still in good standing and they're still with us and one has not passed that we're unaware of, because you wouldn't want to pay for a member that has passed. So again, I would typically do that by either a phone call or knocking on their door, or, you know, again, most importantly, it's a good way to do a buddy check that our national commander is promoting quite frequently. Just give that member a call, let them know that the post is still here, we're still thinking about you, and if there's anything that the post can do for you, you know, and then once you verify it, you can get their dues paid.
Jenna has a question. What do you do if an application is submitted and they did not show eligibility and it caused you to pass the 30-day window?
Again, that would be a determination on the post. Again, ultimately, it's the post that makes the determination whether or not they're going to be a member or not. Again, if it goes over the 30-day window, that's fine, but the post has to do their due diligence to know if they want to accept that member or not. Now, using also that so that everybody knows, maybe there's some new adjutants out there or members that aren't aware. Big news flash here. The DD-214 is not the only way to know if a person is eligible to join our organization. Ta-da! Fathom that. Yes, the DD-214 is probably the easiest way and the quickest way to verify that information. Now, looking at different war eras, the type of separation that that member had could be in different areas depending on the war era that they were in. So you'll have to sometimes look around for it. Some of the older DD-214s from Korea and World War II could be very faded out. So you'll have to, sometimes I've taken those and scanned them and brightened up the lettering so that you can see it a little better. But they are listed on those DD-214s, the type of separation. Newer war eras, like in my case, around the late 80s, early 90s, when you were provided a DD-214, it actually had 2 pages. It had a top page and it had a -1 and it had a second page. I don't know why they were done this way, but on that second page is the only place that the character separation was listed by your branch of service. And it's at the very bottom. Now, when they designed that DD-214, the first page and the second page weren't equal length. So sometimes those veterans will just bring you page 1 and the whole bottom section's not on that DD-214, so you can't ascertain from it the type of separation. You'll have to ask them for the second page. And they can go through all the different channels, through service officers, through different websites to try to get another DD-214 if they can't get one for you at that time. So other ways to show eligibility, and one of the quickest ways that I use as an example, for instance, if we have a person that's applying for membership in your post and they did 30 years, 20, 30 years of service, and they retired from the military. Hello, they're given a retiree card. They don't give away honorable discharge to retirees. It doesn't happen typically. So if they can show you a retiree card, chances are 99.9% that they are an eligible veteran for your organization, your post. Again, there's a couple other ways out there, but I'm not going to go into detail on that right now. There's another question on here.
Check on, Brian Morrison says, check on Puffles as soon as your green bar comes in each year. For those who have passed away.
Right, right.
They had a member who died 4 years ago, and they were never told.
Okay. Yep. Again, Brian's question, our comment was about on that green bar, or in My Legion, you have several members that are designated as paid up for life members, or on the green bar, it will just have a P. It's a good way for adjutants to verify that those Puffle members are still with us and something's not changed in their life or their address, phone number, or if they're still with us. And if so, again, you can use the member data form, which can be mailed in, or as a post adjutant, you can quickly log into My Legion and update that information for those members. So great comment, Brian.
And then Sheila has a question.
All right.
Sheila, go ahead.
My question was on the honorary life membership. I remember I used to have to fill out a form to give to Deanna. It'd be a list of who our post is going to pay for. So those members would not get a renewal in the mail to make sure that they did not receive one. I don't see that form on the list of forms. Do we still have that?
You know, I'll have to check with Deanna. I'm unaware of that form because typically the member data form, just being selected as being an honorary member and signed by the post adjutant or commander is enough to designate them. Or as a post adjutant, you can actually just check the box or that box will show up the next time so that we notify national. I'm unaware of another form. I would have to check with Deanna, and I can circle back with you on that one.
Yeah, let me know, because it was a couple years, probably 2 years or so ago. Deanna said just write them all down, send that to me so we can make a list and notify national, and they will not get a renewal notice in the mail.
All right, excellent. Great comment. Great comment. One of the other things about honorary life members is if you've designated these members as honorary life, and if the post has not paid for them by typically the first part of December, you're going to get a nastygram email and letter from the department headquarters. And that's because national is notifying us that the post have members that have not yet paid for those honorary life members. So we will follow up with you as a way to verify that, and actually sometimes just notifying a post that they have honorary life members, because not that posts don't want to do it. Sometimes we see that you will have a new post adjutant and there's been turnover and they're unaware that what a post honorary life member is, and that the post is responsible for turning those dues in. So it's a way just to kind of bring that attention to it and get them turned in.
Are you going to cover single sign-on?
I was not going to cover. I can though.
Oh, well, just briefly. So Rod has a question.
Okay.
So once the commander has access to mylegion.org, will they have access to the membership list, and will they have the ability to add or change items, or is it view only?
The commander, you know, that's a great question, Rod. And what I believe the answer is going to be to your question is the commander and the adjutant will have the ability to do both. If there's others in each post, let's say, for instance, you have a finance officer or a vice commander or a membership chairman that you want to also have that type of access. One of the new implementations for the new My Legion site is you as a post can designate other members in your post to also have authority, and you can tell it if it's read only or if they have ability to edit. So I think that the way that the intention of the new My Legion rolling out starting at the end of next week or mid next week will be that the adjutant and commander will have both of those abilities. But that's why we stress that the commander and adjutants get their information updated into the legion.org site for the single sign-on so that you're ready to go. You are going to be able to continue processing membership dues until early next week. And then at that point, they're going to shut the current My Legion site down. And at that, you'll most likely see like an under construction type web page letting you know that they're backing up all the servers They're converting that data. They're uploading it into the new My Legion site. And once it's back online, you'll be able to perform all those responsibilities. And you'll know that because the website does look a little different from what it does now. All the capabilities that you were given currently in My Legion are still there, so it doesn't look that much different. And those sites, again, in the training for the new single sign-on and for the new My Legion are in the training sections on michiganlegion.org and on legion.org if you go to training. Okay, thanks for your question. Membership, again, since we're still on that topic, members that have not paid by January 1st are considered delinquent on the eyes of national and state. And after March 1st, they're considered expired members. Some posts take that pretty severe, and they'll actually have to, in some cases, re-vote in that member because they're expired. Again, that's up to the post to determine how they want to handle that. Paying dues, again, for a member, they can pay their dues. Firstly, they can go online. Even though they get that renewal letter in the mail, there's other correspondence in with that letter telling them that their dues are now required to be paid. It also gives them the ability to go to the website of legion.org/renew. They type in their membership number, their information, they set up a credit card payment, and they can actually pay their dues right then and there, and it processes automatically, and it'll show on the report the very next day, and it will actually be the quickest way for members to pay their dues. There is a checkbox, if you talk to members about this, there is a checkbox on there that they can check or uncheck so that every year after, it will automatically renew their dues for them. And if they do not want that option, they have to make sure it's unchecked. Members will also mail their dues in when they get the renewal letters. They'll typically put a check in there made out to the post. Let's say, for instance, your post dues are $45 a year. As you know, as an adjutant, $39.50 has to come into the state. So the post will keep $5.50 of that $45. The preferred method is My Legion. If you could try to convince your members at a post meeting to pay their dues in that manner. On the traditional paper method that we talked about the $39.50. And I want to give you a quick breakdown of how that money is used, because there's a lot of times of what does the state and what does national do with that? How does it work? Because I don't know. Well, out of the $39.50, $21 comes here to the state. And what we do at the state level is that pays for your newspaper, it pays for the staff, it helps pay for some of the service officers, it pays to keep technology working and updated, it keeps the lights and gas and water on, it pays for all of our programs. For the most part, there's some programs that have a higher level that have to be supplemented by other funds from the department, but that's how all those things work. It pays for per diems, for committees, it pays for travel, it pays, and it helps supplement some of those costs to district leadership and zone leadership. Now, the other $18.50 goes to our national organization, and they use that money very similarly that the state uses that money. You might ask then, well, Ron, why is the department sending me raffles 3 times a year, asking for more money for service officers and for their programs that we have here in the department? Well, out of that $21, it doesn't pay for everything. And it certainly doesn't pay for the 23 service officers that we have in our great state. Now, those service officers are out there working for veterans in Michigan, and they do a fantastic job. I hear from the department of Military Affairs. I heard from the Michigan Veterans Association, Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency, how great a job that the Michigan American Legion service officers are doing on a regular basis. So I encourage you as a member, if you have a claim or you have questions for them, to reach out. That's why they're there. And let's keep that program strong. But those letters that we send out for the raffles, which we do a very good job, our sweepstakes, that a lot of times they're called, supplement their wages because of the amount of service officers that we have in our state. So thank you to all of you that contribute to those raffles, and hopefully you've won one of those in the past. If you're sending in transmittals, there's a new transmittal form online. We also have the 2-page copy here so that it will show through on the carbon copy for the back page that you can keep for yourself. If you need more of those, reach out to Deanna or any of the staff and we can mail some out to you. If you're sending in those cards and those transmittal forms here to the headquarters, we recommend that you use a number 12 envelope because it all fits in one envelope unfolded. Because there's a lot of times Post will take those 2 pieces of cards and fold them in half, which can be done in an envelope that's smaller. But you're running the risk of that envelope popping open during its transition from your city here to the headquarters, and then it's lost in the mail or ripped open, or only part of it makes it here. And we've already talked a little bit about deceased members and the way to report those members here to the state headquarters and national. At this time, I want to quickly open it up for any other questions that are out there regarding the membership processing. Next time we'll get some Chuck Woolery music from the background.
No questions.
No questions. All right, excellent. Quickly, I want to go over the next section, and I'm almost done, which is DMS. DMS is a way for members to be solicited directly from our national organization. That can be done for radio ads, newspapers, magazine ads, or their name may have come from a mailing list from some other organization or affiliation, and they're sent a request to join our organization. In that request to join our DMS program, it's asking if they're willing to pay a very small nominal fee to the national organization of $25 for the first year. And they are attesting on that form saying that they are eligible to belong to our organization because of their either war era or their honorable service to the organization. The next year, they get charged the state rate for 225, which is $45 and thereon. Now, those members that join initially and for the first 3 years are considered in what they are called encumbered members. Means that the national knows about them. National's getting their money for the first few years directly, but we have knowledge of those members. After their time has been here long enough, they become unencumbered. We highly encourage every post out there to try to recruit and get these Post 225 DMS members transferred into your local post. That's where they're going to do the most good. Most importantly, and the best time to do that is right around July 1st, in that first year of our membership year, from July 1st to August 1st or thereafter, because again, they haven't renewed their dues yet. And if they haven't renewed their dues to national or to the state, when you get them transferred into your local post, not only does their membership count towards your post goal, but your post gets to keep the money too, except for the per diem, of course. But the way to keep your membership strong at a post level in your community is get members involved within your post. And the best way to do that and grow your membership is to contact these Post 225 members. A lot of them don't even know that there's a local post around them. Did you know that? And the second statistic I'm going to tell you is probably 99% of them are actually eligible for the organization. I hear all the time that there's rumors, oh, those 225 members, they're not even eligible for the organization. They just joined the drink at the bar. Well, in most cases, there's been studies done that that is not true. In fact, we've had past commanders in our state that came from 225, and our national judge advocate came from 225 itself. I got a question here from Brian Morrison. So when I transfer a 225 member the day after he signs up, do the dues still go to national for the 3 years of encumbrance? They go to them for that first year, Brian, because they paid their dues to national, and national's not going to give their money back to because it's only $25. They're not going to give anybody the money back. They're going to keep all $25. And the reason being, that's their cost that it took to market and go out and obtain that member with the mailing. So they're really not making a lot of money that first year, because not only they're getting a magazine from national, they're getting a newspaper from Michigan. But after that, you transfer them after, using your analogy, after day one, the next year, the post will get their dues, whatever the dues rate is of your post. So hopefully that cleared that up. So you're going to reach out, you're going to ask those people to transfer into 225. You're going to verify their eligibility when they get transferred. And one of the things that we've started on our department executive committee voted on and allowed us to do is transfer these 225 members into your local post. Now let me explain that a little bit. When a post 225 member gets their renewal letter from national, just like all of us get renewal letters, included in their packet is a small form, and on our website for the different forms, you'll see, and I don't believe it's up there right now, but we'll have one up there as an example. It's called a request to transfer. It's a very small paper document, maybe 3 inches tall by 6 inches wide. And it's that member asking to be transferred into a local post. Sometimes those members know the post number. Sometimes they know the name of the post. Typically, they just know the city in which the post is located, so they'll write that down there. And as long as that member has signed that request to transfer, they can be transferred into your post. Now, with that request to transfer contract, the post has the ability to say to the department, our state level, if you get any of those requests to transfers, just transfer. They've signed it, they've requested, just transfer them right into our post. And what we'll do then is we're going to notify your post that that member has requested to transfer into your post, and their name, their number, and all their information. That way the post then at your next meeting can do its due diligence to verify eligibility and say, yes, we're accepting them, or no, we're not. And if they are not going to be accepted, all you need to do is just tell us the reason why, and we'll transfer them right back into the post 225. Simple as that. We're not going to go out there as the state and go get those people for you, but there's the ability for them to request to come into your post. And if you give us that ability to automatically get them transferred in, it's a very simple process. If you need that form will also be part of our documentation. Or if you ever want to elect to change the way that you have that form, if you've elected to go with it or not go with it, and the post has changed your mind, that form can be changed at any time as long as it's selected and signed and sent in to us. And lastly, there's one other document that sometimes a post adjutant will get, and that's called a Project Stay Active form. Typically, that form is, again, about 3 inches tall by 6 inches, 7 inches wide. It's white in color with blue writing on it, called Project Stay Active. And what that is, it's a way for the national organization to let posts know that a member from outside of your area has moved permanently to your area. And it's a way for your post to now contact that person to ask if they would like to transfer into your post. That member has not elected yet to transfer. They may not even know about your American Legion post locally, but it's a way for you, the post, to make first contact with them, inviting them to come join your post. This concludes my adjutant training.